Hey everybody, welcome back to Suck Less Saturday. I am Neil here with my favorite person in the world, my bride Stephanie. We're going to talk a little bit more about triggers and how you can suck less.
You need a shot timer because that which gets measured gets worked on. The Range Tech Timer is the official timer of Active Self-Protection because it is versatile, reliable, feature-rich, and very economical. Check out all it can do at the link below.
All right, so Steph, we have talked a lot about some of the basics and some ways that people can suck less and that we can suck less too as shooters.
Yep.
Last week we did Gabe White's 3 triggers,
Right.
Because that's one of my favorite drills. But one of the other drills that Gabe taught me that I really enjoy as well, if you ever get the chance, go take a Gabe White class. This guy he's legit, right? One of the, probably the fastest guy I know with a gun. He's invited to my gunfight every time, and if I can outsource it to him, I will. But one of his other drills that he talks about is called Sights Meet Trigger. And I'm gonna have you demo this with my gun today because I have the barrel block in and you don't. So, so the point of this being is that, we talk about getting shots on target quickly and accurately, but with a pistol, most of the time it's going to take follow-up shots, right? So when you shoot somebody with a pistol, typically they continue doing what they've been doing for a little while. You shoot them with a rifle or a shotgun, then they're going to lay down and they're going to regret their life choices for at least a little bit, and then potentially that's it. But with a pistol, it takes multiple shots in most cases. And so
all pistol calibers. All of them.
Yeah, I know 10 millimeter is best, and I also know that 40 by God 5. People don't explode when you hit them with that. They just don't, right? Don't. It's just a thing, or there is nothing to this. The real point of it is there's not enough power behind it. They're not going fast enough to do the metallurgical.
Physics says unless you fly back when you shoot the gun, they're not going to fly back when they get hit by it.
Right.
So
yeah.
They're going to be affected by it force-wise the same amount that you are.
Exactly.
Which is
so,
not much.
Right. So understand that, but the point is that you are also dealing with recoil in your gun. And so what we see a lot of cases is, the gun comes up, and then as we're coming back down, there's so many bad habits, and we've addressed many of those along the way here. But I'm gonna reinduce one of those bad habits to get through this drill. So bear with me and understand that there's context here, and context is always key when we talk about this stuff. So there's always a reason for what we're doing, and there's a reason for this right now today. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw it. I got my VP9 here, my barrel block in. Now the way that this is gonna work is I'll demo it once and then I'm gonna have you do it a couple times, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're just press out, and I've got little 2-inch circles right here on the wall that I use as my dry fire targets. So I'm just gonna aim in, I'm gonna get one good press, but now I'm gonna pin the trigger. You see that I've held that back. Now I know I told you a few weeks ago, don't do this. Don't do this in regular shooting, but for this drill, I want you to pin it back and then reset your trigger. So now I've got a live trigger. As soon as I let this out, you can hear that click and I can pull the trigger again, okay? So I've pinned it, I've got it all the way back. Now, I'm gonna press back out here, but I'm gonna pretend that I got recoil. So I'm just gonna basically raise the muzzle about this far. I gotta get on my target here, and then I'm gonna come back down, and I'm gonna reset that trigger or release that trigger as I'm coming back down, as I would in regular recoil, and then I'm gonna pull the trigger again as fast as I can and get back off of it. So there's one shot, pin the trigger, go just above it, come down and get another one. You can pin it again.
So you're hitting the trigger twice? Or no, you're bringing it down and you are releasing it because in theory you have just fired a shot, your gun is raised slightly in recoil, and the gun is you're resetting that trigger.
Yes, but because it's dry fire, I have to manually do this.
Yes.
Now, if you've got a double action gun, or if you've got a cool fire trainer, or if you've got any of those other kind of things that actually give you some recoil, you don't have to pin the trigger. But if you're
mechanically, we do.
If you've got what I've got, and based on the mechanics of the gun, so that is a hot gun, and it's yours.
Okay.
Well, it's not hot. It's super hot because it's my VP9. But okay, so what I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna have you aim in at one of those targets.
Okay.
And press and pin the trigger. Okay. So now come back with this hand and reset it.
Whoops.
Oh, you don't have to go that far.
I know.
I've got a mag in there. There you go.
Okay.
So now what I want you to do is just pretend that you had recoil. So you're basically going to break your, now I'm going to exaggerate here for the camera.
Okay.
But you're going to break your wrist like there's recoil. If your recoil looks like this,
seek help.
Yeah.
But okay, so yeah, I've just depressed the trigger. It's still pinned to the rear, even though we're not going to normally do that. And this is the recoil from my first hypothetical shot.
So then what you're doing is you're letting out the trigger as you're coming back on target and pressing it again as soon as you've got sights on that target.
I'm about 12 inches high. I should have plenty of time.
Go ahead and get yourself your right recoil.
We're going to get a little bit lower.
There you go.
And so as I come down, I'm going to reset and then pull the trigger again, correct?
There you go. Now, do it again.
Okay, so a little bit of recoil.
There you go. Oh, I need to oil that thing.
You need to oil it a little bit.
There you go.
Okay.
So that's all we're doing, okay? So now go ahead and reset that trigger.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. And so this week's assignment is you're going to do this for 10 minutes a day.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one thing that you can do in this is you can work on target transitions as well. And you notice I've got the 3 targets over here. So you can start at the one on the left there, and in your recoil, come down into the one on the right.
Or I could start at the bottom and
work
do
your way
the
up.
bottom, and then as it recoils, bounce down into, it's not reset. But you don't necessarily need that click as I'm firing either. Do you see how I can still move this trigger even though it's dead? So I don't need it to click to actually run my dry fire. So I can have it set, go down, reset it. As it's bouncing up, go to the next one. As it's bouncing up, go to the next one, and do that without having to reset it every time.
Yeah. So what I tend to see a lot of folks do, and this isn't completely wrong, is as they're working target transitions with a dead trigger like this, what they'll do is they'll go bang, just across this thing, and there's no recoil in there, right? And so they're doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good part of it too. But the point of this and the context with that thing reset is that I also have to work on letting go of that trigger and not pinning it. So I'm pinning it to learn not to pin it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay. So let me holster up. Okay. So this week's assignment is 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Just need you to work on that third trigger, or the sights meet trigger is what it's called. You're going just a little bit high, come down, pull your trigger again. If you like to work on transitions, knock yourself out and do the transitions. And when we do transitions, we talk about riding the recoil, and that's a whole nother video, probably best done on a live fire range, but ride your recoil if that's what you're doing. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next week.